I'm so happy that my friend and exotic vet, Dr. Laurie Hess, is here to shed some light on nocturnal pets and their particular health needs. Welcome, Laurie. Well, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Explain to me what makes an exotic vet. What part of veterinary school do you go to get that title?
You go to veterinary school that only gives you a couple of days of exotic animals. Exotic animals are everything other than dogs and cats.
So, Dr. Hess, what are the most common nocturnal pets that you see?
Well, I certainly see a whole bunch of reptiles like geckos. I see sugar gliders. I see lots of chinchillas. I see lots of ferrets, too. They're nocturnal, although we adapt them to meet our needs during the day and play with us. There are a whole variety of nocturnal pets, and what's nice is it cuts across all different species.
And another exotic pet that people are always asking me about that a lot of people shouldn't have are sugar gliders. Show us your little sugar glider friend. Because that's the most popular nocturnal pet.
This is Yoda. He's in here. He's going to come out for us, I hope. Oh, he's hiding in his little pouch. So here he is.
He's got big black eyes.
He does. He's a little nervous around all these other animals.
Now, all the people that see these animals at the malls think that they're a flying squirrel.
Yeah, they're not.
I know. Explain to my viewers exactly what category these animals fall into.
These guys are actually not squirrels at all. They're marsupials. They're in the kangaroo family. They actually have a little pouch. And you can find them in the wild in Australia. And they're a lot of fun. He has this little fold of skin here that he can stretch out. See if we can get a quick shot. Oh, he's up and out. But he stretches it out, and he actually opens up his arms, there we go, to fly like a kite, and they can leap from place to place, and that's how they get around. There he goes. Oh, for a quick second, he let us see it. There we go. And so they sail, and they're really pretty amazing. When they're relaxed, they really stretch out. They get very, very wide.
So your clients who have nocturnal animals like this, are they people who work during the day, sleep at night,
some of
or
them
vice
are.
versa?
Well, I mean, that's an important consideration when you're getting a nocturnal pet, because if you really are a light sleeper and you're bothered by an animal that's going to run in a wheel or make lots of noise at night, then maybe a nocturnal pet isn't for you. In the same vein, if you want to interact with your pet and you do work at night, then maybe he's not the best pet for you either, because you want to be able to have some time with your pet.
Are these the most common nocturnal pets that you see in your practice?
He's going back in his pouch. They're one of them. I mean, we see some other ones too, but they are very, very popular as pets, as you said. And you did mention that people do, you know, pick them up in malls and stuff. And one of the most important thing is that if you're going to see one of these animals in a store or in a mall, that you take some time and research it before you go ahead and buy it on a whim, as you mentioned.
Yeah, so talk about the diet a little bit.
Well, these guys have a very, very specific diet. They are actually partly insectivore. They eat insects in the wild, so they really do need some of those in captivity. They eat some vegetation. In the wilds of Australia, they
they're possums, so possums eat a little bit of everything.
They do. They eat, they eat eucalyptus leaves and acacia gum and all kinds of saps in the wild, and it's really hard to replicate their diet in captivity properly, and we see a lot of nutritional problems in these guys.
Animals that are nocturnal. Hey, I want to talk about another popular nocturnal animal.
We're going to put him in his pouch here.
He had his 15 minutes of fame.
Yes, he did.
Okay, now here we have some leopard geckos. This is a nocturnal pet, and that's a nocturnal animal. They're very commonly kept as pets. I have a question to ask you. Now, these guys here, you know, we always talk about how they need UV rays. Now, if they're nocturnal, why do they need the special lights?
Well, they still get some light, even if they're nocturnal. And in the wild, they're really, they're sleeping, they're moving around a little bit during the day. They are in burrows. And they do get a different variety of diet in the wild that we don't replicate properly in captivity. So we do see things like metabolic bone disease, where they draw a lot of calcium from their own bones, and their bones break down. So it's really important, in captivity at least, to balance their diet and make sure they do have ultraviolet light.
So as far as nocturnal reptiles that you see as pets, are those the most common problems that an exotic vet would see?
It's definitely one of the major problems, metabolic bone disease. And that, you know, when they don't have the right light, temperature, diet, all of those factors combine to produce that disease.
Now, would you classify chinchillas as an exotic, as a nocturnal pet?
Yes, definitely. Chinchillas are a lot of fun. Here's a little guy. And they are nocturnal. They're very... Whoa! There he goes. Chinchillas are definitely very, very active. This guy is particularly active at night, and he does run in a wheel all night long. So if you are a light sleeper, as I said...
Well, we got nice silent wheels now.
Yeah. Well, and he's a lot of fun. And just to note that even if you have a nocturnal pet, you can adapt them to some degree to fit your lifestyle, and that you can play with them in the evening so that they don't have to be sleeping all the time during the day.
What are the most common problems that you see with chinchillas?
Oh, dental problems.
So is the teeth that you normally see?
Yeah, they get impacted molder teeth. Their teeth grow continuously, and in the wild, they actually eat a lot of really rough grasses, which we don't give them the same things in captivity, so their teeth can get impacted. And it hurts, and they'll start to drool, and they won't eat, and that's a really, really common problem that we see in them.
They're very long-lived, though.
They are. They can live a really long time if they're cared for properly and fed the right food, and particularly given a lot of hay. They need to eat a lot of hay to digest properly and keep their gastrointestinal tracts healthy.
Talk a little about my spiny mouse there. That's one of my favorite nocturnal animals.
I love spiny mice. They're a lot of fun. They're really, really playful, and they're active, and they're really, really social. And people don't really know what they are. I don't think people are familiar with them, but they have these cute little pointy faces, and if you feel them, they're kind of spiny. They feel kind of rough, and they're just a lot of fun. They're interactive, and they're really fun for children too, I think, as pets.
Yeah, I like them. You know, I like them a lot better than hamsters and gerbils.
I do too.
And because the desert animals are very clean.
Yes, yes, they are.
What is it about a desert animal that it doesn't urinate very much?
Well, they have to conserve water because they don't have a lot of water available, so they conserve water in their body and they don't let go of it very often.
So this would be an animal that it's nocturnal because in the desert it's cooler to be out at night.
Exactly, and there are fewer predators then, and it's very safe for them, and it's fun. They're fun.
Well, that was just perfect. Well, you sound like you have an interesting practice.
I do. I have a lot of fun. Just like you, I never know what I'm going to see on any given day.
Well, that's grand. Well, thank you very much for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for bringing your sugar glider.
He says goodnight. He's sleeping.
Take one look at my menagerie and you'll know that pet keeping goes way beyond just dogs and cats. That's why we need vets with experience with all sorts of different animals. Like my guest today, Dr. Laurie Hess. She's here today to tell us all about my favorite animal, which are ferrets. I love ferrets because they're just like me. They're long and lean, and they're very optimistic. In ferret land, the glass is always half full. It's never half empty. Well, Dr. Hess, welcome to Pet Keeping.
Thank you.
And you are very comfortable with ferrets, I see.
I am. I love ferrets, too. They're fun. They're just lots of fun. They're full of energy.
But they get so many problems, though, when they get older.
They do. They do. And unfortunately, they don't live as long as they should. But they're wonderful, and they're just great pets.
What are some of the issues that you see with ferrets as pets?
Well, they're very inbred in the United States. And typically, as they get older, usually after age 3 or 4, they develop adrenal gland disease, which is a tumor in the adrenal gland.
I've heard 42 different theories on that. What's your theory?
There are a lot of theories. Well, there are studies in Europe that actually show that when they're neutered later in life, although they'll develop this tumor in their adrenal glands, it happens later. So they need all those good hormones that unfortunately we take away when we neuter them early in life.
What about light cycles? Have you heard about that?
Yeah, there's theories about light cycles, and people have tried to treat them.
Explain to our viewers what light cycles are.
Well, I mean, these guys are nocturnal in the wild, and we keep them up during the day, so we kind of screw up the amount of light that they're exposed to, which can really mess with their hormones. So we'll see different diseases like adrenal disease in relation to that, because the hormones control their hair loss and their response to light in general.
And what about diet? That's another thing people are always talking about and debating. But they do that with every kind of animal. Yeah, well, these guys are carnivores, and in the wild they eat rodents, but there's not a lot of people that want to go ahead and feed them mice in their own homes. They do that in Europe. Yeah, they do, and they probably are healthier because of that, but most people in the United States don't want to drop a mouse or a rat in with one of these guys. No, there are a lot of good commercial diets available for them that are complete and nutritious. If somebody has a sick ferret, what do they have to look forward to? Well, I mean, in general with ferrets, you want to look for common signs like being lethargic, losing weight, vomiting or diarrhea, hair loss with adrenal disease. There's so many signs. Yeah, the hair loss. Yeah. Explain about the hair loss. That's the first sign. You know, people call me all the time, my ferret's losing hair on its tail. Is it molting? Well, I mean, there's a seasonal hair loss that they can get that comes and goes, but when they have adrenal disease, they actually continuously lose hair and they get itchy, and that's from the hormones that are made by these tumors. Now, I've heard about something called a melatonin implant. Can you explain that to me? Well, I have never used it myself, but some of my viewers have written to me about them. I can't find any information on exactly what a melatonin implant is with a ferret. Well, melatonin is a hormone in the body that responds to light. And I'll be honest with you, that we used to use them, but there are actually, in my experience, better hormones out there. We use something called Lupron now, which is an injectable hormone that we use in people. Men get it with prostate disease, and women get it for fertilization. And we give it monthly to ferrets, and it really can help them deal with their adrenal disease problems. How does the Lupron help with that? It doesn't take away the tumor. It suppresses all the hormones that the tumor makes so that it tries to get rid of the signs, like the hair loss and the itchiness. So although the tumor continues to grow, they'll grow their hair back, they'll be much more active and more comfortable. And for the males who can get a big prostate, which can interfere with their urination, it helps shrink the prostate. Now, what about just operating on the tumor? And you can, and we sometimes do operate on them, but studies haven't shown necessarily that they do so much better with surgery than with hormone treatment. So we used to do a lot more surgery, but now we actually do surgery and we give Lupron to try to prevent the tumor from forming in the other adrenal gland after we take out the diseased one. Now, another issue that people ask me about ferrets is what kind of vaccination schedule? It seems like people are shot obsessed. Yeah, it's important. I mean, by law, these guys should be rabies vaccinated, and it's very important because they can get rabies
from any animal, and if your ferret should bite a friend of yours...
I think it's more of a liability issue there.
Yeah, it is, but it's certainly something we should recommend. But the one thing that really isn't just liability is distemper. Distemper virus is a really, really serious disease in ferrets. And
I haven't seen that in anything in years. Is this still around?
It's still around, and it does affect them occasionally, and it's fatal in ferrets, and it's completely preventable if we give them shots. And many people say, oh, my ferret isn't exposed to a dog or whatever. You can actually walk distemper virus in on your shoes from outside. So we do recommend vaccinating.
So how often would you vaccinate a ferret for distemper?
Well, when you get the baby ferret, you want to make sure that he gets 3 shots, just like a puppy or kitten does, about a month apart, and then annually they should get a booster.
Our viewers out in California, though, can't keep ferrets. You can't keep ferrets in California, you can't keep ferrets in Hawaii, you can't keep ferrets in Washington, D.C.
New York
and New York City.
Yeah.
What is all these prejudices with ferrets?
Well, I mean, in New York City...
Why can't you keep them in California?
Well, I mean, a lot of people think that ferrets bite, and my answer is, you know what, they don't bite any more than dogs and cats do.
I've been bitten by every kind of animal. I've never been bitten by a ferret. I've been bitten by orangutans, never been bitten by a ferret.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't really understand that either, and I think with proper training, they're really great pets, and I don't worry about them biting.
What about chunky ferrets? What kind of exercise should we give them?
You make them run around after treats. You hide their food and you make them go find it.
You know what city is ferret crazy? Is Tokyo. Everybody in Tokyo has ferrets. But think about it. You know, if you're in a teeny-weeny little Japanese apartment, what's a better pet to keep?
Exactly.
No matter what, whenever you walk around with a ferret, people think it's some kind of weird animal from the planet Kuzbin.
They do. And ferrets are addictive. I mean, most people who have one ferret can't just stay with one. They get 2, 3, and we have ferret families come in, whole groups of them, and they're playful and they're fun. You watch them roll around. I mean, they're really, really addictive as pets.
Yeah, I've had ferrets for over 40 years, and I'll always have them. I just love them. Dr. Hess, what is it about ferrets that makes them so flexible? You know, people see me doing this with ferrets and think I'm being cruel to them. Why are ferrets so flexible?
Well, I mean...
Do they have, like, more vertebrae than other animals do?
They have long spines, and think about what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to ferret things out. They go into little holes.
But my question is, do they have, like, more vertebrae than a dog would?
They have a lot of vertebrae. I don't know if it's more than a dog, honestly.
Like all vertebrae have the same neck vertebrae. A giraffe's got 7, just like people
Well,
do.
they're just incredibly flexible, as you said, because they have to squinch down into little tiny spots. That's their job.
So when we play with them like this, we're not hurting them.
No, you can dangle them and play with them. I mean, they're crazy. They're great.
Well, thanks for coming by, Dr. Hess, and educating all of us here.